Let's make a drawing inspired by the drip drawings of artist Jen Stark. When you're done, it might look something like this, or it might look different. Either way is okay. You'll start with a blank piece of paper, and you'll begin drawing with a pencil. Eventually we'll trace our lines with Sharpie, but pencil gives us the chance to erase with an eraser if we need. When we're drawing, we first want to create these large patches that we'll then fill in with smaller drippy lines to create the patterns in her, similar to her artwork. I'm going to draw with a marker so you can see my lines, but you'll be drawing with a pencil for this part. So I might start on the edge of my paper and then make a line that swoops up and down and goes up somewhere in the middle. Then I'll make another line that connects to it and make another drippy shape. I can make drips by going up and down with my drawing tool. In my case, a marker, in your case, a pencil. Maybe I think I'll add one or two more large drippy areas. I'm sort of adding a little bit of randomness to how high or low my lines are going. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Art's for learning and trying our best. But I'm not adding way too many of these different patches because I know I'm going to add more smaller lines later. I think I'll add one more part of a patch, so to speak, over here. There we go. Now what I want to do is I want to begin to trace my lines. Obviously my lines have already been created with a marker. Yours would just be pencil at this point. And this is where I want to create a bolder, thicker line to make the next step easier. So I'll eventually still be able to differentiate the original lines from the inside lines we'll add later. To make a thick line with Sharpie, what I'm going to do, and what you can do, is just trace twice. It'll end up making a thicker line. So I'm going to go ahead and trace all of these lines twice, all the way around my paper. This will help make it much more obvious where the edges of each of these shapes are. Once you've traced your lines, then we're ready to add these smaller lines on the inside as well. I would again start with pencil and then trace with Sharpie later. You can always clean up afterwards with an eraser if you have any difference between them. So, to show you though, I'll use the marker because again it shows up on the camera. What we want to do is we want to follow the shape of the drippy line, starting from the bottom of the drip in each shape and going to the top of our paper. So that would look like this. I want to think about the next step of this project when we'll add color. It's going to be hard to add color if my stripes are like this wide. So I want to make sure there's at least enough room that I'll be able to add color in the middle. Instead of adding 20,000 stripes, I'm going to make them spaced about the same width as my finger. So that's about how wide I want each of these shapes. I'm going to continue to do this for each of these different sections, working one shape at a time and being as careful as I can. If I get to the top edge here, I'm trying to visualize the same distance, same width of each stripe all the way to the very top, and I do want to make sure it connects each time, so we want to pay attention to the small details. Once I've finished one section, then I'll go on to the next one, doing the same thing, till I have my whole paper all filled up with these patterns of repeating drippy lines. Depending on how your line drawing drip shapes ended up, you might have parts where you will need to overlap. What that means is the drips down here, this line bumped into this other drip, so I had to pick up my marker and then put it down on the other edge so that it goes behind the drip that's on top. That gives our drawing a more 3D effect. And when you're done, it may look something like this. I'm really excited to see your drip drawings inspired by artist Jen Stark.